Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the boys basketball coach at Byron Center. Of course, that's Joe Rodriguez. How's it going?
Doing well, thanks.
Of course, by the way, congrats on the big win last night. Picked up a win against Jenison. Overall, we've talked to a lot of coaches because of weeks of practice and all that. But now you've got a game in. How do you feel about your team after playing one game?
Yeah, it's always an uneasy feeling going into week one. You just never really know where you size up, where you match up with other teams. You go, in our case, a week and a half there of tryouts and playing against each other, and there's obviously some nerves there, just the unknown. But I felt pretty good going into last night. I thought we've been practicing pretty well, and we played pretty well. So I was definitely excited for our guys and the outcome. We shot the ball really well. I think we maybe a little bit ahead of our offense is maybe a little ahead of our defense right now, which usually isn't the case. So hopefully we can get our defense rolling, and we'll be looking forward to a pretty good season.
All right. Well, so let's talk about some of the guys that come back for your team and some guys to watch out for this year.
Yeah, so we're pretty fortunate. We had a pretty young team last year. We took some lumps and started two freshmen and a sophomore last year, or I guess our sophomore. Those three were kind of in our top seven last year. So return a couple sophomores and Isaac Lee and Camden Carroll. And then that goes along with a pretty good JV group, and it's a really good junior class. We have JJ Brock, Connor Ferguson, who played really well for us last night at the point guard position, and Trey Sluter, who actually didn't play last night, who's injured, but hopefully he'll be coming back pretty quickly here. And then we add that to a couple really great role players at that senior class. Austin Buckley paced us last night. He had 18 points, and he had 4 3-pointers. And Landon Quaker, another senior, also had 4 3-pointers. And then Michael Bradshaw, another senior, had 3 3-pointers. So those guys really shot the ball well and did some really good things around some of that other talent that inside and guys that run the floor well. They really complemented them really well.
Yeah. So obviously getting the confidence of a win and get you ready for the rest of the schedule this slate before we get into conference. I don't know when conference play begins. With all these schedules that you follow, you don't know when conference play is going to really start. But talk about the rest of the schedule.
Yeah. So we beefed up our schedule this year. Our district's just been growing, so we for a couple of years now we've been trying to throw in as many OK Red schools, which is the bigger division there, as we can. So like I said, we opened up a Jenison last night. We have Caledonia on Friday. We have a really talented Coopersville team next Tuesday, and then Hudsonville next Friday. So pretty good start to the season, a couple good tests there. And then we come back from break and play South Christian, who is another non-league game, but they're a rivalry right down the road for us. And then we jump into our conference schedule in the OK White, which is really tough with Northview and Grand Rapids Christian and Forest Hill Central. So yeah, it's we'll be challenged all season long.
Yeah. So kind of talking about some of the things to maybe watch out for this year. What is it about the OK White that just, because it just seems like every division in the OK conference is pretty
Right.
because you're experiencing it right now of what the red has. But now you have, of course, the white later on in the year. But what is this division like for people that might not know?
Yeah. It's you try to compare it to the red. The red just obviously very talented. They always seem to have a little bit more size in the red, with the Rockfords and the Granvilles, Caledonias, West Ottawa, teams like that. They play a little bit slower pace, but they're very strong. They usually got one or two guys on those rosters that can really fill it up. And then I look at the white, and it just seems like, especially at the top. I mean, obviously you're gonna have your ups and downs, with some teams, but there's just some really, really good individual players in our league. That even in a down night, we might see a team that record wise might not be great, but they're competing every night because they have one of the top players in the area on their team. So I think obviously Northview goes to the Final Four last year. They returned some really good talent. They picked up a couple others. Grand Rapids Christian, I think they have two kids that are already getting D1 offers and interest over there. East Grand Rapids, in my opinion, has one of the better players in the area, and Simon, who's been there, it feels like, for 6 years now. I've seen him for 3 years now, and he's a tough matchup for us. And then, even a team like Greenville, they got a kid that put up 30 last night. So, and Lowell had a kid that put up 30. So, you consider Lowell and Greenville at the bottom of the white, and they both got some really good individual talent there. So, you always got to prepare, I guess is what I'm getting at. It doesn't matter who you're scouting or who you're preparing for. There's always going to be, at least one guy that you got to really prepare for.
Yeah. Really, Joe, what do you want to really see out of your team in these next few games? Because you've got some talented teams ahead of you. You got Caledonia, we got Hudsonville. Of course, we just talked to Coach Elliott. I think last week.
Okay.
So overall, just what do you want to see out of your team in these next few games?
Yeah. I think you talk to a lot of coaches. They'll say the same thing early on in the year. You want to really see them competing and growing. You want to be playing your best basketball in March. Obviously, you want to win, especially against some of these teams that maybe prove, to your guys that you're capable of playing at this level, especially when you play a schedule like we do. But for me, it's just, let's go out there and compete, and let everything else take care of itself. We've been really stressing discipline this early part of the season, just really talking about, doing our best to make winning plays. And if we make enough of those, then, we'll win the ball game, or at least be in contention to win the ball game. So, that's two of my bigger things is, be disciplined and, compete every possession.
All right. Well, Joe Rodriguez, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck to you guys this year.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate having me.